now we got 90 minutes on the clock for
We got turn the
Papa
hourglass
Ash
over.
Thorp to make an image.
Well, you guys, if you don't know Ash's work, he is an incredible designer and director. He's worked on Total Recall, Blade Runner, Prometheus, Call of Duty,
Ender's Game, Ghost in the Shell.
Lots of.
What are we missing, Ash? What's the ones that you want us to say that we didn't say?
The Matrix and the Christmas Story, Jurassic Park. I'd like you to say those ones. No, yeah. No, I didn't work on those, unfortunately. Wayne's World, no, I didn't. The graphic user interface for Wayne's World. No.
Well, Ash, how would you describe what it is that you do? You know, I know, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just like, it's kind of hard to, because I don't like to be put in a box and I don't want to be known for one thing. It's like I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. I've just kind of embraced that thing. So I'm typically just a creative person, and I do so many things from designing to directing to illustrating to 3D stuff, vis effects. It's a huge gamut. I'm very curious, and I love being creative. That's where it is, really. So
I love it. I love that you just live this lifestyle where you're like, I make awesome stuff every day, and if I can feel creative and fulfilled by doing it, then like I've done my job right. And if that's interfaces, if that's concept designs, if that's anything and everything, posters or whatever, I love how versatile you are with where you throw your creativity.
Thank you. I mean, that's the point, right? We're only on so much time here, so gotta do what you love and do it the best you can.
Yeah, I think before we jump into making an image with you, just in case there are people in the chat who don't know Ash's work, we're going to play your demo reel that kind of gives a bit of a taste of some of the things you do, cool. And then jump in and make some images with you.
Sounds amazing. Let's do it.
Awesome.
So here it comes at any moment.
As a child, I would sit and wonder, escaping my body and this shared reality called the human existence. Each day I begin with an open dialogue to that child in hopes of losing myself in what I call the alternate mind. Through the years I lose touch with that child from my earlier life. In this dimension I am able to alter time and space. This is my true existing state, a state of omnipotent flow. That inner dialogue caught between reality and another dimension, existing through time and space. That is where I gather what you see here today, and present to you as me, myself, pure and defined.
Well, there you have it. I could watch that.
It was okay, I guess.
I like that someone in the chat comment, does he even bleed? It's a good question. We ask that all the time. Is Ash actually a human being?
No, I'm pretty sure he's one of those
He's
Ghost
one
in
of
the
the
Shell
robots.
robots.
He's one of the robots, man. Just watch out.
For sure.
They're
He's-
amongst us. We don't even know it.
He's got one of those hands that split out into a ton of different fingers, so he can type on like 5 keyboards at once.
Oh, yeah, Ghost and Shell hand. Yeah, it's the best hand.
What Ash? What are we looking at? What are we going to be doing here? What are you showing us tonight?
So I'm using your delicious kit in here, the Warzone kit. I'm going to show you guys how versatile and how fast it is to make something really cool instantly, quickly, when you have amazing assets to use. I'm in Cinema 4D, which Cinema 4D is my primary 3D program. If you're interested in this kind of stuff and you don't know what this is, just ask questions, obviously, and then I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, there's a couple different programs you can use. There's Blender, which is free. So if you're interested in getting into this stuff and you don't have a big budget, there's Blender, which is awesome. See a lot of great things coming out of there. 3D Studio Max is a really great program. It's been around for a long time, and Maya. And then you have Cinema 4D. There's a bunch of other ones. What makes cinema so cool is you're able to take all these things and kind of compile them together and build scenes. Mitch was using Octane, which is a render, and I'm currently been using Redshift. They both are GPU based, and they're both really great. I use Redshift primarily now because of just the way that it handles and processes really big scenes with lots of light and volumetrics and stuff. So that's why I'm doing this here. I'm going to go through and just kind of show, I have a lot of little things that I kind of put this file together. So if you guys have questions, let me know. But I'm not going to just be creating one image. I'm going to be creating like just a ton of stuff. So
Awesome.
just kind of playing with things and just showing you guys how it all works and looks and all that stuff. So
We got a couple questions before you dive in.
yeah.
Poop Robot asks,
Oh, I love that name. Authentic as hell. Poop Robot. That's my nickname in high school.
do you think Blender, that was your nickname in high school. Do you think Blender rivals Cinema 4D?
Yeah, I mean, it's to be completely honest, I haven't spent enough time in Blender to really give it a fair assessment. But honestly, they all are very powerful in their own right, and I've seen amazing work being made in all of them. So at the end of the day, it's not about like the actual programs per se, but it's the person that's using them. It's a nice mix between the two, because obviously I can't make all this stuff without these programs. So, but yeah, it's a nice mix between them. So I don't know. I can't answer that completely, but I've seen amazing things come out of there too. So yeah, I would say that they're probably both really great.
It's the wizard, not the wand.
Yeah, 100%. And that'll be a common theme that you guys will hear me say throughout this whole thing, I'm sure, and to ad nauseam. It's just, it's endless, really, and we can do whatever we want, and it's all up to like what you want to be doing and how you want to put it together, really. So, and how disciplined you are at learning new things and how willing you are to like spend the time to accelerate yourself through the learning curves and stuff, because it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One thing for you, Poop Robot, is Blender is free. So there's
And make
that.
sure you wipe too, Poop
Yeah.
Robot.
Well, I don't.
Be a good Poop Robot.
See if it's in the programming.
Yeah.
One thing Ash was talking about was he was talking about his GPU renders and how he's using Redshift here in this scene, and Mitch was using Octane. If you guys don't know what those are, it's a bit of new technology here that is allowing that image on the right side of your screen, which is on that side of your screen, which is the render window. So he has his scene over in C4D on the left, that way, and then the GPU render is taking all of the light that he's set up and can render in almost real time the image that he is then making. Which before, Ash, you were when you were working with before GPU rendering came out, what did you have to do? What was that process like?
I just cussed a lot and I turned the computer off, so it wasn't even worth it. No, it just wasn't very good. It wasn't. It's like CPU based rendering is really great. It was mainly V-Ray, and V-Ray still, I think, probably the best renderer for like physically accurate the way it bounces light and stuff is really amazing. So there was those, but honestly, I just love GPU rendering because those of you that know it and use it, this is going to be verbatim, but you've already, I know you know this, but it's like for a creative person, you want to have the feedback right away. And so this having these abilities and stuff like this to use these tools, it just makes you better, and it helps you just create faster and iterate. And like Sava, I know he did a stream with you guys, and we have kind of a similar approach with this stuff. And it's really pretty much the same thing. It's being able to see what you're doing real time. So this is my main scene, and then if I like my display, if I have like, yeah, it doesn't even look good, so I'll just have to take this off. Like I expose the line so I can see the scene, but this helps show me kind of what I'm looking at through the scene. And since I'm using a city, you can do so many different things. Like the cool thing about having all these tools and resources is I can put a studio light in this, like that's unnatural to nature itself. But right now I'm basically trying to mimic a sun and the volumetric haze of environments and stuff too. And what I'll do now is I'll also turn on a VDB. When I was posting these images up kind of leading up to doing this, because once I committed to doing this, I was like, oh crap, I better go make something good. And so I brought up the scene. And so a lot of people were asking me like, hey, how did you do the clouds and all that stuff? I got this VDB from my friend, Francois, Friendly Robot. He's been showing me how to create VDBs inside of another program called Houdini. And what's cool about this is I can basically simulate clouds and the depths of clouds and all that kind of stuff. So when people were asking me like, hey, is that in post and all that kind of stuff? No, it's actually a voxel based system, I guess. It's called a VDB, and you can see it kind of moving through here.
For people who have never used VDBs, what's the easiest way to explain what that actually is?
Man, I don't even know. It's like a voxel. So typical 3D stuff is based on like surface modeling, like poly modeling surface. Like, so if we look at, and forgive the quality because I'm streaming and I'm like tapping into my PC through my Mac via TeamViewer. So it's like, I'm just like crushing everything. But yeah, so if you look so traditional 3D is like poly-based surface modeling. So all these things right here, if I were to select like maybe this building, let's see, grab this guy. Let's see here.
So it's like a flat piece of paper rather than like a filled-in box.
Exactly. Thank you. That's much better because I was getting hung up on stupid technical issues. But yeah, so it's basically instead of having let me just turn this on so we can maybe see it a little better. So yeah, so it's surface based, and then with voxels, they're based on like a box, if you can imagine a box, and it's like a three-dimensional box, and it takes up that space, and then it has a value of its own within a vertice of its own. So, and there's a density cloud to it and everything. So it's really cool, and the cool thing about it is it lives within the space, so you're getting the live GI, the bouncing of all the lights and the rays and everything actively like working as it would naturally. So because the old way of doing this stuff, or still the way that people do it, is they'll do render passes and then they'll add in all kinds of smoke and things and After Effects or Nuke or different compositing programs. But now with the power of voxel based stuff and Houdini and all these things, you can really you can put this stuff in the 3D scene and then get it live and real. And that's what you're seeing here, which is really, really killer. It's a little finicky and it takes a little bit of time to kind of understand the nuances of things that come with it. But it's really cool.
So I don't want to keep sidetracking you from actually showing us what you're trying to show us. Because I feel like if we start down this road, we could ask you a million questions.
Sure.
So I'll be collecting your questions in the chat, and we'll drop them in as you kind of touch on one of those subjects. And if you don't touch on them, we'll ask you towards the end.
Sure. Sounds good.
So let her rip, Ash. What you got planned in this scene?
So the way that I work in 3D is I kind of compose everything and I make it like I'm going to turn off the render just right now so things move smoother. So I'll move this over here. So when I'm building things, and what I did is I wanted to show how robust this kind of way of working can be, is I literally just took the city, the Warzone kit, and I just I didn't even do anything to it other than just I duplicated it twice or 3 times and then rotated each piece, so I got a little bit of difference. And it's called instancing. Basically, instead of having my computer having to calculate all these things over and over, it's basically taking all that same information, but it's just moving it in a different part of the actual scene, which is really cool. And it just saves a lot of time from the computer having to cycle all that information, because this stuff is really dense. So basically what I have is I just took the city kit and I moved it around a couple times so I could get a little bit more dense and I could get something a little bit more interesting compositionally wise. And I can just duplicate it and then move it this way. And I go, okay, cool. And now I can rotate it like this. And a lot of these things, artist intuitions and all that kind of stuff is based on my observation of the world around me and how I take in the stimulus and traveling to New York and all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking about all those things when I'm putting this stuff together for composition. And again, I'll relate all this stuff back to the fact that I was originally and traditionally a 2D artist or a traditional artist. So I use all those rules of thirds and composition and all that kind of stuff whenever I'm making things in 3D. Try not to get too hung up on the technical aspects. So what I have is I've just taken the one kit and I haven't even, the thing as what I wanted to show you is this is all set up it's all set for you to take apart and build up your own scenes. And because I didn't have a whole lot of time and I wanted to generate a cool image, I didn't even bother doing that. I just kind of moved the things around the way that I wanted to, just as a scene, which is kind of just gives me a good heads up on making something quickly. The cool thing about the KitBash stuff is you can literally just take these things and break them in pieces. And if you know how to model too, you can add on different pieces, different parts. You can combine different kits, and you can just really create a massive scene if you need to or if you want to. And it's just really awesome. And there's more than enough information for you to make something really cool out of it. I have a ground plane. I have the KitBash set right here, and I've just duplicated it. And then I have the volume, basically, which is the voxel. And I've instanced the voxel a couple times so I can have different cloud arrays. And if you can rotate it and stuff, it becomes different enough that you won't see a duplication. And then I have, I kind of try to keep my scenes as clean as I can possible because it gets really messy really quickly. So usually compile everything into a scene, a camera, and lights. This is something I learned from my friend Michael Wrigley. He's really awesome. And then what I do is the whole thing about this, my approach to doing CGI is I'm constantly looking at it like I would if I was going to take a photograph. So I pick the lens that I normally would shoot landscapes with, which is usually a 135 millimeter. It's considered a telephoto lens, which is a long lens. Let me look at the top here so I can show you kind of what it looks like and the difference between that. How you choose your lenses and what you do with your lenses, it really dictates a lot of things. There's two big things that you must consider when you're making these kind of things, which is where the light is, how the light works, and then what lens you're using to capture the element that which you're looking at. So, and honestly, as a kid, if I were to have this, I would have freaked out because this is so crazy. Could make the most insane stuff. It reminds me of being a kid and playing with Legos. So here's a camera. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Just along for the ride and love it.
Okay, awesome. So here's my camera, and what I do is I basically, because I use GPU rendering, which I'll kick this off again. Because I use GPU rendering, I'm able to work iteratively and very quickly and rapidly. And to me, that's the goal of this is being able to treat it as if I was I had the superpower to just fly around the city and take photos wherever I wanted to. And I also have the ability to control time and the sun and the light and everything as well, which is amazing. It's really great. So what you're seeing now, if you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, is I'm looking at the city through the camera. So if I click on this one and I lock my camera, I'm looking at the city through the perspective that I set myself up here. If I want to adjust the light, which I will, I'll move this over here. And I want to drop the sun a little bit down. And I also want to maybe bring it over here. And I put it right behind this like cluster of buildings. See if I can get it to move. Let me see where my camera is. Okay, so now I'm gonna move my light over here.
Poop Robot says 3D is God power.
Yeah, it really is. Like 100%. Poop Robot knows how to knows the knowledge. Got that poop robot knowledge. But yeah, you can really, it's endless really. And so the thing that I really encourage people that are into this kind of stuff or wanting to do this is really to just observe the known world, because that's going to really help you build really great work, because it's going to help you understand like how light works, why it works the way it does. And then it'll just help you compose your images even better. If like what you're trying to do is compose reality, this will just help you, it'll just help you, give you a good base to work from. Let me turn this off.
The camera and tweaking the light to try to find the best angle in lighting.
Yeah, pretty much. And I do love happy accidents, because that's how it is when I'm out taking photographs. So when I'm out taking photographs, I'm looking for those happy accidents and things like that, like parts of scenes or the way that the city looks or how the light bounces off things, and just the overall composition of things. All that kind of stuff is it's all there to kind of give you feedback, so then you can respond to it. And the way I treat 3D now is it used to be different. I would go in 3D, it was very miserable and very painful, but now it's gotten better over the years, so I'm able to treat it very much just like I'm actually in the scene and I'm taking photographs and I'm actually in control of the city itself and the light and the way that the light works and how things look and all that kind of fun stuff. So
So I know there's some people in the chat who asked like, how long does it take to set up a scene like this? That's kind of why I wanted to preface with like, you know, a good chunk of this for me at least, and I'm glad to hear it's the same with you, is kind of just like I have it set up now. I want to keep tweaking things to find the best possible composition or setup. But in terms of like scene layout and getting the atmosphere and the buildings in there and the light in there, like how long of a setup is that before you can start running around and taking photos inside of your 3D scene?
yeah, so I did this before the stream today, and I spent all of like maybe 45 minutes, I think, total, getting this all ready, so that it's here like it is now. So it really doesn't take long. And the key is because like having these kits, it just saves you all that time. And what I mean by that is you don't have to spend all that time modeling and UVing and texturing and all that kind of stuff. You already have the assets here, so it just makes it easy for you to kind of get right to work and build something out. And so if I were to have to model this, no, it would take forever, and I would hate it. I would hate it, the process, because I don't really care for modeling, honestly. I don't like poly modeling. It's like weird, like I just don't enjoy the process of it. Most people don't, but there are some people that are amazing at it, and they really, once you understand it, it's actually quite like therapeutical, but I don't like it. So and it's not for me, like it's not like the creative process, the part of the creative process that I thrive in and enjoy. So if I were to have to model this, oh man, I don't even know, it would take me like months to do that. But I don't have to now, because I have all the assets, so I can make whatever I want at any time, baby. Yeah. Poop Robot. I'm just gonna say that like a
mic drop.
Tourette's, like a Tourette's thing, like a Poop Robot. Yeah. But yeah, so when I see what happened right there, what I was doing is I would move through the scene. I had my camera just like I would if I was walking through the city. I recently went to Japan and I made a photo book of my trip to Japan. It was like a lot of fun, and I learned a lot about photography and my own perception of photography. And what this really did for me is it helped my CGI a lot. And so I moved around the scene and I find a composition. To me, this feels like a good composition, but it was lacking over here. But I didn't want it to be, what I basically have is I have a rule of thirds happening unintentionally. It just happens. So this is my attention area because it's the most contrast, it's closest to me, it has the most information, and it falls off like a gradual fall right there. And so I'm just kind of moving these things around, and I'll just keep moving things until I get it to the point where it feels right to me. So I'll move this over here, and I'll probably add a little bit more depth so I can get more atmospheric perspective. Atmospheric perspective is basically when you're looking at something in the actual environment. And on Earth, there's a lot of atmosphere, there's a lot of dust, there's a lot of particles in the air. And the further something is, the more hazy or the less value or contrast it actually retains. And so that's something that is used by artists time and again to basically create a lot of depth and dimension to their work. And I'm doing it right here to try and show you how vast this city is. And it's working. Yeah, sexy talk.
So it's like things disappearing in the fog, or
Yeah.
or when you look at like mountains in the distance and they're like kind of hazy and you can barely make them out. That's the atmosphere between you and the mountains.
100%. And what's cool about it with Redshift is really, really efficient, and it's amazing at rendering really high level scenes like this, like lots of volume and lots of depth very quickly. I don't know how it does it. I think it cheats somehow. It's very smart coding or something, but don't ask me. I don't know those technical words. I just know how to push the buttons like a chimp, an art chimp.
Push the buttons, Ash. Come on now.
Art chimp, 100%. Poop robot styles. But yeah, so I'm basically, so now what I've done is I've just kind of locked on this spot. And that's my creative process with this kind of stuff. It's basically, I'm just playing and I'm trying to create a scene, but at the same time not trying to force it. I'm just trying to work within it. And I would really say like having a strong foundation in drawing and painting really helped me. And I'd strongly encourage it for everybody, designers and everybody alike, to spend time learning how to paint or learning how to draw. It really helps your eye when you're, dealing with like complex visual problems and, trying to work out just technical difficulties and things as you're building things out. So
I think that's such a cool note. I know also for you that photography is such an important medium for you, and it's cool watching you work in an entirely 3D environment and seeing how all of those different real world skills come into play.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the art forms are constantly inspiring and influencing one another. So, and I didn't really realize that when I first started doing CGI. I felt like, oh yeah, I'll just figure it out. I mean, I'm a human. I've seen this before. It's not until you actually really exercise these kind of things that it starts to really come to life and make sense and work out in the way that you perceive reality and all that kind of stuff. So it's a kind of a tricky thing. But once you figure it out and you build it out, it's really incredibly rewarding.
They've made these tools so intuitive based on the things that we're used to perceiving.
Yeah, CGI has gotten so much better. These tools have gotten so much better, so much more usable and easy to use. They're not completely they're still a little guilty of being jerks, these programs. But no, it's because they're made by humans. We're all flawed. But yeah.
And if you're out there listening to this, there is this digital revolution going on for art, where never before now have such small teams been able to do so many cool, amazing things. In this kind of software, it used to take hundreds and hundreds of people so much time, and now if you're seeing this for the first time, there's a world at your fingertips here that you can jump in and start making amazing things.
Yeah, 100%. It's really cool. When I was first coming up, I was working at like studios and stuff, and now I think like even Mitch is a good example of it. He's not like in the hub of LA. I don't know, where is he located again?
He's in St. Louis.
Yeah, so St. Louis, and I don't think like that would be almost like unmentionable or unthinkable to do this kind of work out there. I would imagine at the level that he's doing it.
Right.
So he's a testament to kind of like all the things that we can do now without having there's so many great things that you can make, and it's just all at your fingertips really.
Yeah.
And there's amazing tools, and there's amazing community, as you guys know, because you guys are part of it. It's just really awesome. Super cool.
I think it's a really exciting time. I don't know, to be in this space. It's years ago, the software and the hardware to be able to do any of this was so expensive that it was kind of not approachable for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, because you would have to like mortgage your house to have a computer that could would make like some shit GIF or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you can rip that off on your phone and stuff. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's awesome though.
It's changing every day.
Well, seriously, like 20 years ago, you needed to buy a $100,000 computer to be able to run a piece of 3D software. Like now you can run it on your laptop.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's I think about this all the time because it's pretty easy to see where the future's going if you've been observing like what's been happening over the years. And like I'm just excited to see it all be real time, because I feel like rendering and the way that this is working now with the way that GPUs work, that GPU rendering is like real time, like live and direct. And I'm really excited for like game engines and how game engines have been coming along, like Unity and Unreal Engine and stuff like that, and how that's just going to lead to the next evolution of being able to get your ideas out and not only just show like, hey, this is a cool image. It's like, no, why don't you go experience like this place? To me, that's really really exciting because that's where the future is in my mind, and I can't wait to be in that future and being a creative in this space. It's really awesome. I was just thinking about it. I've been playing with like computers for such a long time. I didn't realize it since I was a little kid, and not until like 2002 did I start using like things like Photoshop and stuff like somewhat diligently. But yeah, it's pretty cool now to be here and using them now as they are. It's really fun. This is pretty cool. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just making happy accidents. I have all the formula. It's like I'm cooking. I have like all the recipe for a good soup, and I'm basically moving things around until I'm able to get what I want. The way that Redshift works is you have an IPR, which is right here, and it's rendering real time. And when the final render, it only happens once I hit this little thing right here. It's a bucket render. And that's when it really casts all the calculations and stuff, but it's slightly different, but not too much. And that's kind of the cool thing about it. It's a little different than an Octane. I have Octane on this machine too, and I could use them both. The materials are all set for Redshift though, so it wouldn't register too well. But yeah, so if people have questions about that too. And everybody's like, oh, Redshift or this. And it's like, again, it's the same thing with like people like, is it Mac or PC? It's like, it doesn't matter. Obviously Mac is always going to be better. So. As I'm using a PC, yeah, I'm just talking shit. I know PC is pretty amazing, and it's a necessary evil. So,
I have a question for the photo series that you put out on your onto your social. Oftentimes, it's hard for me to discern whether or not you took that with an actual camera in the real world or if you built it in CG. And watching you do this, where you built a scene and now you moved your camera around a bunch and you find an angle that you like, do you then export that image and then keep that same world that you built and move the camera somewhere else and create a series out of a world that you built like that?
I'm sorry, I was looking at this thing. I missed your amazing question. What was it?
Well, I guess my question is, I know that you travel a lot and you'll travel around a city and you'll take a bunch of photos and you'll release a photo image series of that.
Yeah.
Is that when you're releasing a series of images in CG, like you recently released a really amazing series with the Warzone kit, do you build a city? Do you build a CG city and then move a virtual camera around that same city and take a bunch of images of that? Or do you build all new pieces per image?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was looking for the images that you were talking about. So here they are. Yeah, so kind of what I did here is I basically made a full city. And then I set up everything, got everything kind of the way I wanted to. And then I just took photos around it. So
hey,
it's like
Ash, can you drag that over to your C4D screen so we can see it?
Shoot, sorry. I think it's because of this thing. I need to share the render. This thing, stop presenting. Hold on 1 second here.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, this one. Yeah, I was sharing just the window of that one. Sorry about that. Can you
No
see
worries.
what I'm looking at now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is bridge that you're looking at, I think now. So, let's see, is it coming through?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So basically, I took the amazing assets that you guys have, and I think this is a mix of Warzone and Future Slums, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
Just
these
like a
look
match made in
awesome.
heaven. Yeah, thank you. And this is all rendered in Redshift, so super cool. And it's got the volumetric VDBs in there. And so, yeah, basically what I did is I just make a city, and I would move things around. And the way that I work in 3D is I'll work in this mode primarily. I won't even look at the render just yet. I'll just build out everything here in this realm. You can see my computer now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
See. Cool. I just want to make sure the stream was going right. So you can see like I would work in this realm where I'd build out a city to my liking. So when I was building out this city, I was thinking about like how the transit goes really close to the buildings and how everything's very claustrophobic and kind of broken and abandoned, and just kind of thinking about images of like cities that I've seen that have kind of fallen off the wayside and just things like that, and also films that I was inspired by. And then I would put that all together, and I would get really inspired by just cinematography that I love. And I'm really big into photography, and I love just kind of observing the known world with the camera. And so when I'm in the 3D program, it's pretty much endless, because then I can just fly around and do whatever I want, so so it's a lot of fun. Yeah, here's some more photos. And usually the way that I like to work when it comes to lighting, and I get asked this question a lot about how I light my scenes and all that kind of stuff, I traditionally just like to light things with 1 or 2 lights. And the cool thing about nature and the way that nature works is we have one general light source, which is our sun. And that's one light. And if you can set up a really cool scene using one light, I think that really shows your ability to kind of capture light and use it as an emotional tool, which is really cool. The intention often with people when they get into CGI is to like throw everything at it, and that's totally natural, because that's a common thing. But I would insist that you try it just having it be nothing. Like, it was cool seeing how Mitch's files, how effective they were with how simple his file was actually, which is cool, and just being clever and using simple things but effectively, which is really cool. So yeah, this is inspired by The Dark Knight, this image right here. I was watching The Dark Knight while I was making these, actually. So and it's pretty close to like when I'm working, I constantly have like a movie or some sort of feedback. If I can afford my attention to have it on my other monitor, I'll just have like a film playing or something, and I'm just getting really inspired by something in the film or something that's going on in that world. And so and just using that kind of, I think Wally Fisker was a DOP in that film, but using kind of just how they put the cities together and just the feel of it. And I should put a little Dark Knight right there, right there. Yeah, I need to figure out a way to put in some artificial light, a la like basically like having some light in the buildings and stuff too. So that would be really cool. Most of these are abandoned, but yeah. If you guys saw, Sava did a really amazing stream with you guys, and he breaks down his kind of process and approach when it comes to doing render passes in After Effects. And I do a very similar approach too, using a ZDEP pass to kind of add in extra things. I actually didn't do that with these. I just took the renders and then I brought them into Lightroom, which is an Adobe program for basically editing photographs and imagery. And I did all the same things that I do with my photography. I just kind of adjusted the levels and just did curves adjustments and all that kind of fun stuff too. So
yeah, I know that's been a question that's come up in the chat a couple times now, of whether or not you just go straight out of the render and that's the final image, or how much post-production you actually do after 3D.
Like 2% post-production. Yeah, it's amazing, because like I said earlier, it's like before, probably about 5 or 8 years ago, it was unheard of to get this kind of render, unless you had some sort of like mega computer and like a super brain, like Poop Robot does. Like now you don't have to have that everybody can be a Poop Robot or their own capacity and kill it. I love that name.
It's so good. It
Well,
just evokes a very strong emotion.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back in like 30 minutes, guys.
Well, and we've gotten to show on this show so many different workflows, and it's really cool to have you here and say, I'm working almost exclusively in 3D, where we've had some guys on the show earlier who were working almost primarily in Photoshop. And there are all these different tools, and you get to, as an artist, figure out which ones work for you.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the goal. And the cool thing is, I didn't look at any renders from anybody else. I kind of try to avoid, at this point, I try to avoid looking at other CGI artists. So if my goal is to make like a CGI looking image, I'll look at CGI. If my goal is to make an image that's like an old photograph, I'm gonna only look at old photographs, and I'm gonna look at those and study those. So my goal with these was basically to mimic a stylized reality a la The Dark Knight, or a world that feels real, but somewhat kind of pulled from reality. So that's kind of what these are.
Well, and so when you have your block out set, and you have your lighting set, and you have your texture set, how hard is it in C4D or any other software to move the camera around? As you're flipping through these images, I want to be a helicopter in motion through this city.
That's super easy. It's like once you so I would say like the way that works is the hardest part for me is the modeling and the texturing, the UVing and stuff. That's not the hardest part. It's just the most time consuming, and it's not something that I really enjoy all that much. But once you have that and you get everything set up and move your scene around, once you have all that, then you're good to go, and you can basically it's like free time to just kind of walk around the thing you made and lights around, because like this is the exact same set. All these photographs or renders, whatever you want to call them, they're all from the same thing. Funny, I get a lot of questions like, is it real or is it not? And I'm at the point now, I'm like, it doesn't really matter, It doesn't, because I do like these car renders and stuff, and people are like, oh, is it real or not? And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, because like, would you ever see that car? Probably never.
Right. And if your brain can't tell the difference,
who cares?
Right.
Yeah. And that's the question we're going to ask ourselves as we increase we thin the gap between what is real and what isn't as the technology progresses. And it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Your car renders get me every time, because you post so many pictures of photographs of your car, like in just like a parking lot or like on a cliff road. And I'll get like a string of pictures of your car and then like a CG car render from you, and it'll just throw me.
It was intentional. Just to mess with your brain. Yeah.
You're like, wait a second, that isn't Ash's car. When did he get a new one?
Yeah, that's the goal. And my goal is, with a lot of these things, is like to do that exact thing, and to inspire you guys too to make and strive for those kind of goals, because it's a real challenge to fool people at that level, especially people that are also creative people that have an eye for reality and the knack for understanding what reality is and how to perceive it and all that kind of stuff. So let's see, let me grab some Redshift and projects, see if I can open that other scene. I think I have it in here. I think it was this one. Yes. So I can show you that city scene.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Turn that off here.
While you're pulling this up, you had mentioned Sava's video, and this our good buddy Sava Zivkovic out of Serbia has made an awesome video that we're going to show a little bit later on in the show, where he did a walk through the history of architecture using 7 or 8 of the kits. In a similar workflow to what we're looking at here, where he built the cities and then has moved the camera through it. And so we'll show that in a little bit.
Yes, that's an amazing video. If you guys are like serious about being interested in this stuff, Sava's amazing. He makes incredible work, and he's really good at he does a really great breakdown in there. And it's like I actually learned a couple cool things in there I was really stoked on, so that was awesome.
Yes, Sava's a beast. We feel fortunate to get to call him a friend, and are constantly blown away by the work that guy is doing.
You guys have done an amazing job of acquiring and working with all these guys. It's really cool, you know, like having Mitch do the title and Saba doing because he did it was like the promo piece or something. It was sick, man. It's freaking Saba.
Yeah. He made the full 2.5 minute animated short for this.
Dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's awesome. Super cool.
Yeah.
We've found ourselves very, very fortunate to have such great friends like yourself that want to hang out with us. So we're really just having the best time ever.
It shows. You guys are doing cool stuff, man. You guys are on that like next level CNN style presentation. You guys must have taken lessons from Poop Robot.
We just got the download.
I think it's super cool to have the opportunity and like the pleasure to be able to introduce these amazing artists who we respect so much to hopefully new people who don't know about this world. And I think if I had never seen anything about digital art or 3D or concept art or anything like that, and my first introduction to it was watching Ash Thorp make an image, for me that would get me hooked. And I feel the same way with a lot of the guests that we've had on this show. Is like these are the people who I think, who we both think are the perfect people to introduce this world to someone new who's never heard of it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I mean, to be completely transparent and clear, I'm not a super knowledgeable CGI guy. I'm trying to every day to get better at it. So the fact that I'm actually able to make something that's somewhat coherently, visually like coherent, it's like a testament to how these tools actually work and how solid they are. Let's see.
I think the most fun part of this whole thing for me is when someone reaches out to us in 6 or 7 time zones away from us and says that they saw one of our streams or they just picked up a kit and they're just now diving in, and they because of some inspiration they found from artists like you, Ash, that they wanted to dive in and found they found a new passion for themselves and found something that they want to spend a lot more of their time on.
That's killer.
Yeah, it's that to me is the most exciting thing, is that we can be part of this explosion right now.
Yeah, which, by the way, in the chat, if you have not heard of concept art before or 3D art before, and seeing this is getting you interested in it, let us know. That's the kind of stuff that makes us want to do more and more of it, and we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, please throw in the chat where you are in your career and your life, and if you are an artist or if you want to explore some of this, let us and let everyone else in the chat know what you're doing. One of my favorite things about this show is the chat, and the fact that the chat takes on a life of its own, and the amount of people in there. You see Droki and Kalino popping up every so often, talking to each other. And so many great collaborations have come out of this show, or out of literally the chat from you guys, from popping in here all the time.
And I'm curious too, for the people who are artists and people who are the regulars on the KitBash3d channel, or if you're just a working artist and you're first learning about KitBash, regardless of that, who is the artist out there that made you want to go down the road of learning this? We'd love to hear who is the initial inspiration for all of you guys. And Ash, I'm kind of curious from you, what got you into design? Was there an artist that made you go, oh my God, that's what I want to do?
I think in regards to this, I would probably say my buddy George Hall. George Hall. I'm looking him up right now, and I'll put him up here.
He was our first guest on the festival.
Damn, that's sick. George is amazing.
Yeah.
So George was a big inspiration for me, having grown up in like the days of like just seeing his work in the Matrix and stuff is super rad.
Yeah,
it's still like amazing, just super killer. Just seeing his work, and so I mean, in that regards, him. There's Mache. Mache is obviously one of them too. Just everybody really, all these guys. Sid Mead's work. It's really endless, There's so many artists that are out there that are just shredding it, doing really cool things, and really inspiring one another. I think the thing I really always loved about George's work is just the painterly aspect and the feel of it, and how it didn't feel digital, but rather like a painting and an emotional kind of painting. I think that's probably what the Wachowskis really liked as well, is that it would get you excited about the tonalities of the actual experience of the film. And you watch The Matrix, is a very painterly type world too. So yeah, super cool. And all these drawings that kind of originally came from Jeff Darrow, who's an amazing comic book artist too. So tons of cool stuff. But I remember just like poring over the art of books and like Cinefex and stuff as a kid. And that was like, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. It's just a calling, you know? And so, it just took a long time for me to get somewhat better in order to kind of be able to produce the work that I was after, you know? So it takes a lot of time, but yeah, it all came together. I'm quite happy. So yeah.
That's amazing. We got some people saying, where was this? This is so, I mean, the artists that people are throwing out there are amazing. Sydney, Daniel Simon, Pondered Sciences says, Ash Thorp hands down was my inspiration.
That's really weird for me, because like, yeah, and I appreciate that. That's, for me, it's weird because I just feel like a noob. So it's cool. Appreciate it.
And right below that, it's you, Max, and you gave me a chance to be part of your Learn Squared class, which is a really cool combination considering Max and Ash. Max made a Learn Squared course, and Ash started Learn Squared, which is a online education platform that we have past students from your guys' stuff here in the room with us.
Yeah, Learn Squared. It's going strong. They just dropped their latest site, and it looks really good.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the making, so props to them for getting it done, because I remember working on it way back in the day. So, but it's here. It's really awesome. And yeah, if you guys are interested in learning these new things, like here's Max's class actually. So I have classes on here. It's like perfectly timed. Here's my class.
And there's your class. Boom.
Yeah. So, but it's mostly focused on like HUD design, which is another part of the career that I focus on. But yeah, I mean, the resources out there are amazing. There's so many amazing things for all of us to really take hold of and to learn new tricks and all that kind of stuff. It's like an endless array of awesome stuff that we can all basically just latch onto and learn from, and it's just super cool.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing what you've built, Ash. It's you built a wonderful platform that has connected so many people together and has brought these amazing instructors to people, not just with their online classes, but through the mentorships, which was one of my favorite things, was getting to actually spend a night each week with all of the students who I was mentoring through Learn Squared, and getting to I'd spend the whole night with them. My strategy was I'd bring a bottle of wine, and I'd say, you have until this bottle of wine is empty. So if you keep asking questions, I won't be able to drink and you have me longer. If you guys run out of questions, I'm gonna be drinking a lot faster. And we would spend hours just talking about, I'd pull apart old paintings with them and answer any questions and do critiques. And it was just a really cool one-on-one feeling with all of the students on Learn Squared.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely. And props to Mache and Andrew and Momo and everybody over there for carrying the torch and keeping it going. And yeah, it's a crazy journey, and it's really cool to see where it's all gone. And yeah, there's amazing people, amazing students, and it's cool to see because when I first started out, it's like you didn't have a lot of options. You could either go to Art Center, which is an amazing college. I don't know how it is now, but it was amazing when I was younger. And then there was other colleges, but they weren't as specific or focused, and you couldn't get the direct source. All that matters when you're learning something is to get like the direct source from the person. So, but yeah, it's like now you can learn for like such an affordable price too, which is crazy. You can like learn from the source, from the person that is the person that's actually effectively doing the work that you want to be doing in your life and making a career off of. You can learn directly from them. It's super cool.
Totally.
It's really crazy that it works like this,
Yeah,
So.
the information age.
Yeah, it's all there, and it's like it's up to you. Like if you really want to, if you really want to learn and be effective, like efficient in your life, then it's like you can, and it's all up to you, like how far you want to push it. Just amazing, super amazing.
Do you find that now that there's so much information out there, that it's hard to shut it off? It's hard to to unplug for a little bit, stop, and get some rest or find some balance?
Oh yeah. I'm totally a victim of that because I constantly allow myself to be completely inundated with all this stuff.
I don't know anyone successful who's not constantly learning.
Yeah, you have to. That's the point of it. You're not supposed to just. Any artist that I've known that became stagnant or like upset is because they kind of stopped that progression of learning. You have to constantly feel like you're inadequate, but in a healthy way though. It's like don't do it till it damages yourself, but you have to basically feel like the worst person in the room. I mean, like the person in the room that's not like everybody around you is better than you. You never want to be the best in the room at all times. Sometimes it's okay, but what I mean by that too is just like you want to be constantly working and learning and acquiring new skills and just sharpening your sword. Like I think if you can see my own career started from working in HUDs and UI and graphic design and stuff like that, and then eventually moving into directing and all these other things and working in CGI and all that stuff too. So it's kind of endless really with this stuff, and we're in a perfect time. As I mentioned before, it's like we're in a perfect time to be able to utilize all these new tools and things to kind of make and build and manifest our own careers and realities in which we want to live. So, which is awesome. Yeah, I never thought that I would be able to do this stuff, honestly. I know this is probably sounds cheesy and silly to say it, and I'm sure it's been said many times before, but it's like it literally, I came from like a very kind of an impoverished childhood, just like a single mom, didn't have a lot of anything other than just like emotional support, which is obviously really awesome, but like material things didn't have a lot of. So I didn't really think that if I was going to be an artist, I was going to be successful in the form that I would be able to like provide and have a nice life. But it's like I managed to do it, and it's just been awesome. So, and it's all for manifestation. So if you have like a positive outlook and you're really inspired and you're willing to be willing to be the worst person in the room to learn and grow, it's like, you'll succeed and be fine. It's how it is, and constantly growing, constantly learning. I love surrounding myself with like all the best people I know and learning from them and constantly asking questions. I remember reading a document about Stanley Kubrick and how like he was like the most, everybody would say it when they would talk about Stanley, would say, oh, he's like the most inquisitive person that they've ever met. And I was like, that's great, because you would think at his level he would probably like, oh, I'm Stanley Kubrick, blah blah blah, and whatever. But it wasn't like that. He was constantly asking questions, constantly curious and wondering about like how things are made and how that person did that thing or whatever, and just constantly wanting to know more information. The more you know, the more powerful you are, and just the better you are, in regards to this knowledge. So, yeah.
I think a big part of that too is the people you surround yourself with, and surrounding yourself with people who are pushing themselves to continually grow. I think that's been honestly one of the biggest pleasures of KitBash3d is that it's allowed us to surround ourselves with, our internal team who's all pushing each other to grow every day. And then all of these amazing artists all over the world who are always leveling up, and it keeps us constantly pushing of not just how do we improve the kits every time and design every time and all of that stuff, but also how do we improve like our lifestyle, how do we improve our balance, how do we improve our communication with each other, and just every aspect of our life, and looking to grow outward in multiple areas at once.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I love this. The idea, I think you do such a great job of this, Ash, of being vocal about who those people are that are inspiring you. And I see you all the time online reaching out or showing an image of you know, if it was Kaisel inspiring you for the cars or Friendly Robot recently, you're constantly talking about the inspirations in those of your peer group that are exciting you and pushing you forward. And I think it's so important to have those kind of, you know, gym buddies almost, that push you forward to take on things and excel and to be growing even when you're at a place that for someone else might be the target of where they're trying to get.
Yeah, totally. You should never stay still, basically. And that's something that we talked about, like what I learned from martial arts is probably one of the things I learned too, is that the moment you stay still or you kind of get stagnant, is the dangerous part, where it's like, you know, you should, when you embrace the idea of being an artist, you should like wholesomely embrace the idea that you're going to have to suffer for your art through your years. It doesn't mean that it's going to be horrible. It just means that it's just a part of the process, and something that you just really need to enjoy the process of it. And it's yeah, I'm all about it, but I have a different outlook, and I've been doing it for quite some time, so I could see if you're listening to this and you're quite new to this, you're probably like, what the heck is he talking about? So, but hopefully it resonates with some of you, because if you can like wholesomely embrace, I think it's like people say, like, embrace the suck, I guess it's called, whatever. But yeah, it's like something I used to listen to and read a lot of like self-help books, because I didn't have a lot of devices and like skills to manage these kind of things within myself. So I used all these different books to kind of help me through it all, and so I kind of remember those things when I'm going through like a difficult learning stage, or if I'm doing something that's like not exciting me, I have to like realign myself to what it is that I'm trying to do, and ask advice. And you're right, like, you know, use the analogy like gym buddies. It's like that 100%. It's like you want to surround yourself with artists that are better than you and that could show you new things, because you're constantly, you should, if you're doing art right, you should be constantly learning and constantly growing and constantly in that like that constant flux of just being progressing to your past thing. If you look at your art from, you know, like a year past and you're still satisfied, that might be a telltale sign that you're not growing fast enough. So, but not everybody is as like, you know, I'm not saying that my way is the right way. So, and it's obviously not, because it's my own path, you know, so everybody's got a different path. And I do have some art that I look at still to this day. It's like, I just released that new class. And so I was going through like stuff to kind of help promote what I do. 'Cause some people I think forgot that I do that stuff. And so when I was going through like Assassin's Creed and all that work, I was like, man, that was fun. That was cool. I totally forgot about that whole process of making that thing. So there are moments where I look back at old work and I'm like, damn, that was pretty cool. Like, so it's not all supposed to be like, you know, horrible. So
yeah, there's got to be some balance between satisfaction and ambition.
Yeah, 100%.
Master Splinter says, this is the stream I needed tonight. Awesome, Master Splinter. Well, if only you we reach with this tonight, this whole thing's worth it. So
if we land this at the perfect time when you're feeling lost or plateauing in your art, then mission accomplished.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us.
I'm hoping that Poop Robot's being super pumped up too.
Come on, Poop, get in the game.
Ash, can you tell us what you're doing right now? We've been just watching in a trance as you work, and I love talking about life and philosophy with you, because I feel like there's so much of it that we share in common, and I love getting to learn new stuff and see what tips and tricks you're picking up.
Yeah.
Just so we don't lose the image, what are you playing with? What are you doing?
Yeah, no, totally. So I'm back in that. So I'm in my other scene that I made originally, and so I have, again, my format of working is I basically make a bunch of different cameras, and then I'll move around the scene. Right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out how to adjust the fog so it's not so dominant. 001, and so I'm trying to find a good balance between the fog and the lights, and just getting it so that the scene plays right together. So this is kind of the part of the creative process is kind of a bit tricky, but once you can get in there and use it, it works. So I'm basically going here. I have a dome light that's basically run through by an HDRI that I have, and it's like a desert scene. I'm using this just to supply like a normal kind of sky. And then I also have an area lighting here, which I'm basically kind of mimicking the sun. And my problem now is I'm trying to figure out like how to get it so that this will shine through and give me information, but not create a ton of fog so that I can actually still see my image. So there it is. I'm working on it. So basically what I did is I removed the ability for this light to cast volume. And then I've turned this one up a little bit so that it can have some of the volume, but not too much, so that I can still see the scene. Because I don't have a VDB in this shot, actually. There's a VDB here, but the link is broken, so I don't even want to deal with that. So, yeah. So, and now I'm just looking at this is an old shot, and if I wanted to like move around, I would just save that shot by duplicating the camera, and then I'll just go around and then find another like. So if the light's coming from there, I never like when it comes to lighting, I'm very particular about my lighting. I think lighting, is everything when it comes to art. So I study a lot of photography. I studied directors of photography, like a real famous photographer. If you want to get into this stuff, check out like Roger Deakins. He's amazing with light and the way that he uses light. And the films that he's shot, like Road to Perdition, I think, the newest Blade Runner, Enemy. No, wait, he didn't shoot Enemy. Sorry,
Sicario.
Yeah, a lot of Coen Brothers stuff.
Yes, which are my favorite films. Like Coen Brothers are some of my favorite films. The films that they make are some of my favorites. So he even shot like Big Lebowski and stuff, which, it's not like, I guess, it is. It's just different. But yeah, so I look at film stills and I really kind of pay attention to the different styles of, let's see if I can find a Pinterest.
I was just going to ask, do you keep a visual mood board like that?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I'm constantly going through like things online. So like when I'm making something in CGI, and what's cool is like people break this stuff down a lot. They kind of break down just kind of how things work. But when I look at this, I'll look at like, for example, see if I can find a good scene here. Oftentimes I'll just look at photography and I'll try to let it influence my own work when it comes to CGI. So if I think about this room, it's got a very sharp light, and the reason why I know that it has a sharp light, a small light, is because the shadow that it's casting is pretty sharp. So the sharper the shadow, the smaller the light, and it's a very powerful light. And the room has atmosphere, and it's shot through like bars basically, but it's spherical opening with bars. So if I would look at this, I'd go, okay, there's that, and then the DOP cleverly puts the main or one of the characters just outside of that light so that it's creating a shadow. And then we have the edge light on the person here, so you have a point of interest. You have the chair here, and a guy out of shadow. So what this does is it creates like instant, for our brains, what it does is it creates instant narrative, which is really cool.
Instant narrative is a really cool. That could be the name of your book.
Instant narrative.
Instant narrative.
Yes. But yeah, I constantly just looking at photography. You see, even like here, like what this is from. I think this is a Fincher. No, this isn't Fincher's film. I don't know what this is from.
I love how much you spend.
This is great. This is awesome.
Oh wow, that's Unreal.
This is Unreal. Yeah, have you seen this? Insane.
No.
Decagon, I think, is his name. Yeah, this scene is insane. Let's see. Yeah, Clinton's work. Let's see if I can find this scene. It's crazy what he did here. Check this out. It's all Unreal, so it's all real time. Really, he has a great way with taking the real time and making it real. Yeah. It's some of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Clinton's work is super cool. While we're on this page here, it's really cool to mention that we're looking at ArtStation. And what ArtStation is amongst, while being one of our sponsors on the show and one of our very good friends, ArtStation is basically Facebook for digital artists. I don't know any professional artist who does not have a pretty active ArtStation page. And so if you guys don't have an ArtStation page, be sure to create one. And if you want, ArtStation has been so cool as to offer anyone in the audience for this show a free 2-month membership for their pro platform. which gives you all sorts of really cool features. So we will throw into the chat the coupon code for that if that's something you want, or be sure to make yourself a one of their free profiles as well. Excellent place to showcase your work, to be seen, and to collaborate with others.
So that Ash can pull it up on a stream and then say, look at this is sick.
I was just remarking on how crazy this is because, yeah, like this image alone, it just like would break the internet if it came out. It's still amazing. It's just like, it's really crazy to see how far this stuff has progressed. Because it's gone off like on some crazy tangent. People are getting so good, and it's just really impressive to see just the sheer amount of work. If you're starting out and this is like scary to you, don't worry, we're all scared of it. So yeah,
we're still scared of it,
and that's the point. Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, but to go back to like if you're trying to make reality, like using these as inspiration. Like Inside Llewyn Davis is really an amazing. This is Roger Deakins again, and when you look at his work, you just get really inspired by the way that he paints with light. When you get into art, if you're making art in this realm, all you're doing is painting with light. You're finding that perfect balance of what to reveal and what to conceal, and you're just painting with it basically. But yeah, I would say check him out, and there's all kinds of other DOPs that are incredible. Darius Kanji. So if you look at like the movie Seven, that's an amazing film for like cinematography. If you haven't seen the film, it's incredible. It's like a classic Fincher film, but Darius Kanji is the DOP and who shot this, and it's just really, really like exceptionally well done photography. Super good.
We had a question, Ash, and I'm curious about this too. I love how much you study light, and it's clear in your images that like lighting is super important. Chadmium asks, do you spend any time tweaking shaders as well, like the materials on a building? Or are you mostly focused on just the lighting of it?
Oh yeah, I mean it's all in the devil's in the details, right? So I mean lighting is one thing, and I usually like to light my scenes where I can hide my lack of like spending the time on a shader. But yeah, I know I've not in this scene, but I traditionally go pretty far into like shaders and stuff, and I can't show those now because the ones I've been building are based on like client work and stuff. But what I do have is, maybe this is a good tip for everybody that is listening to this and might be curious about this, is I do a lot of material building off of like using different types of tools like Substance Painter or Megascans, and I bring all that stuff in. But what I have is I built out like a PBR setup, which was really nice. And it's basically you're able to plug everything in, and I have it all set up so it runs through everything. I could do corrections right on the fly, and then I have my displacement, diffusion, roughness, metalness, bump map, and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's just the beginning. Then you could do mixed materials and all that kind of stuff. I try to save a lot of that stuff for just doing it inside of like texture-based programs rather than pushing the nodes around in Redshift too much. But yeah, so definitely lighting, but I mean, it's a real big rabbit hole, guys. So like once you get into it, it'll just basically eat up your entire life. So, and then you'll just be staying up super late working on stuff, and then constantly, pushing buttons around until you're less upset, basically. So
it's so addicting, honestly. Just like once you like learn one tool and you're like, wait a second, there's a better tool that just does this one thing really well, and then you just like dive into that. And it's an endless wave. But I mean, what a fun thing to do. Like, I think it makes you appreciate the real world so much more.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think that's one thing I love about photography, is that it allowed me to kind of really see things differently. Like, really helped me see just the world, and it helps me kind of really embrace it. So this is. We were talking about this earlier. So this is my photography site. If you're interested, you could go here. It's photography.altcinc.com. But I have like my trips to Japan recently, which was a lot of fun. And you can see how like if you look at the photos, you can see how I've been trying to influence, like it influences my CGI. Because just like seeing how light works and just compositions, how to build compositions, what makes an image intriguing, what lens to use. Like I was using a super wide lens. I had like a 16 millimeter here, so I could have the vanishing lines and stuff like that, and see a lot more. And this, I was up in a building looking through glass. So it was raining with like a 135 mil, I think, and punched in. So I think I was probably around 200 millimeter lens or so. But yeah, just using all this stuff and then using this as inspiration, studying the way the light works and then the way the camera sees light, and then bringing that back into CGI, and then using these influences and then bringing them back and forth, basically. See, there it is. This is the 3D scene.
Yeah.
So the next big thing I think what I really need to try to figure out is how to put like artificial lights in the buildings so that they work really well together and that it feels natural. And I think once I can do that, then it's just total game over time. So
yeah, that's the priming I feel like you have down. It's like photo, CG, photo. You know, like you've like primed us to think it's real, and the quality of the image holds up. I mean, that honestly could be a photograph, and I would not know. I could not tell one way or another.
Yeah, well, this is a photograph. All these things on here are, but yeah, that's the goal, right? It's like to let you see this. So I'll just set this render off while we're talking. And then when I come back to it, we'll look at it and go, oh, okay, yeah. And if I did a slight amount of post, which is like noise and adding slight chromatic shifting and then lens distortion, you'll get the same kind of thing, you know, so a similar feel. And again, at the end of the day, it's like all about just capturing an emotion, because if you're not capturing an emotion, then you're really not doing anything, you know, at least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And because all the work that I love and that I'm inspired by, it moves me in some sort of emotional way. Yeah.
Well, we got about 5 minutes
Ooh.
left. One of the things I want to make sure we cover, I'll let you hit render, but I just want to make sure to mention for those of you who enjoy hearing Ash's beautiful voice and his prolific ideas. Ash, really, I do think you're one of the most prolific people in this space. I love the philosophies and mentalities that you've really spread for a long time. And so I want to make sure that people here know where to hear more and where to find more.
Yeah, thank you.
Starting with your amazing podcast, the Collective Podcast, which I've been listening to for years. You get amazing guests on there, and that's really an amazing place I've learned so much on there and gotten to know the mindsets of some of the best artists out there, and adopted a lot of those ideas in my own routine. And then as well as, you know, Learn Squared is the school that you've founded, and you just released a new course on there. So if you want to learn from Ash and his skills, definitely go there. Follow Ash on all the social medias.
Yeah, his social handle is down there.
In the chat, Ash Thorp, and make sure to dive into his website and spend some time there, because it's really, you can get lost for a long time on there and get really inspired. And we'll put the website in the Twitch chat now.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't go on social media all as much as I used to. I've been just really deep into focusing on work. So if I don't get back to you like a private message or anything, I apologize. But yeah, definitely love being a part of this community. I try my best with things like the podcast and things like that to I'm kind of trying to help my past self with everybody else here. So
That's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's I'm hoping that this somehow inspired some of you guys, and yeah, it's there's the render. So there it is. Pretty cool.
That's awesome. Can we go? Hold on one sec. Can we go full screen on that?
Yeah.
Boom, there we
so
go.
let's see. Bam. Let me make this, and then I'll just put in bridge so you can see it.
Well, we got a couple minutes if you want to throw it on Lightbox and throw some filters on it.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me open up Lightroom really quick and drop us some of these renders in here. Let's see, and then you guys can kind of see how I take these things and how far I go into it. I'm loading it now, so it just take a minute.
And Ash, while it's loading up, I know you're diving in. You've been making films for the last while. For a while, you've been creating your own short films. What's on the horizon for you right now? How are you challenging yourself? What are you looking to do? What's the next chapter of Ash Thorp look like right now?
Oh man, yeah, I'm always working on new movies. And what we mean by this, if you're not familiar with my work, is I make a lot of short films. And so the next few films, I have 2 of them. One of them I'm making with my good buddy out in France. He goes by the name Friendly Robot. His name's Francois. He's awesome. So we're making a film together called Passage. It's a short film. It's super heavy, involved. It's a lot of work, and let's see if I can find an image I can tease to you guys right now.
Ooh, a teaser.
Yeah, let's see if I can find something.
A teaser, if you please, sir.
Yeah.
Well, we got Nino Boombox in the room. What up, Nino?
What's up, bro? Nino was the costume designer for the Lost Boy film. He was amazing.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
One of Ash's previous movies.
Nino built a kit that has yet to be released as well.
Oh, damn, what?
Yeah,
what?
Coming soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, Nino fam. Let me see. Trying to find a good image here to tease.
Well,
So-
and Ash, while you're pulling that up, one thing that we... Oh, there we go.
Oh, snap.
Whoa.
See, let me find another one here. Oh, this one's pretty cool. This is still a work in progress. Let's see if I can find a bigger version of it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Super rad. This is for Ash's forthcoming film.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen his movies, do yourself a favor and go check those out.
Yeah, they're weird. They're weird. They're films that I make it just because I'm weird and I like to make weird things, and they're like meditative states of creative bliss for me. And so if you were to watch like Epoch or Edifice or any of these films, they're just made basically without any strings attached, and it's kind of the work that I make naturally without anybody telling me what to make. So, which is the whole point of it. Anyways.
I love that. I love that just as a principle. This is the work I make without anybody telling me what to make. I love that.
Yeah.
You know, and you feel that when watching one of your movies. You feel your point of view come through, and you can really feel the love that went into it.
That's awesome.
For y'all in the chat too, also be sure if you're into it, watch the making of videos of those things that Ash makes. He breaks down his movies in some incredible detail with tons of really cool knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, it's like I get so many questions about this, and I want to try and help out as much as I can. It takes a lot of effort to do those, but it really helps a lot of people out, which is awesome. And I'm always happy to help peeps out.
Yeah, man. We could do this for hours and hours, and we have 2 minutes left on this show. I can't tell you how much it means to us that you've taken this time. We know how incredibly busy you are, and for y'all in the chat, I mean, Ash is unbelievably busy.
Working on like 5 projects at a time, plus his 2 films, learning 3 new pieces of software, doing a course, like.
Yeah.
And this here is your image for the KB3d Festival whilst maintaining an incredible conversation.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me. And thanks to all you guys out there. And hopefully you guys have a good time creating things and enjoy yourselves. And yeah, it's just go out there and be creative and make amazing work and inspire everybody else. And yeah, never ending awesome stuff. So yeah, I'll like take this thing off so I can say goodbye to you guys with my face maybe.
Get
there you go.
Your pearlies in there. Well, Ash, thank you, and to everyone in the chat. You are the reason we are doing this, and there's a whole team here with us that are so incredibly excited every night that you show up with us. So thank you all for doing this. Thank you for being here with us. Tell your friends and join us again. We got another great show coming up on Thursday. We have got our really good buddy Alex Alvarez, who is the creature designer in Avatar. He's also the founder of the Gnomon School of Visual Effects. Another smash show on Thursday coming at you. Yep. Okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining, and thank you, Ash, for being here with us and for sharing some of that wisdom in that head of yours with all of us.
As promised, we're going to go out with the Sava Build Your World video, and also we've got the next installment of the Bob Ross tribute to
the Nick Hyatt
tribute to Bob Ross. Exactly. So we'll be rocking those. We'll be seeing y'all here in 2 days. Come hang out with us again. Thank you all.
Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
KitBash3d Festival out.